So please welcome the founder of Scompler and really in Germany one of the big masterminds in content marketing, Mirko Lange.
Yeah, thank you so much for the warm welcome. Also, thank you very much, Andrew, for inviting me. I'm really a little bit excited. I mean, I'm doing that twice a week, but it doesn't feel really much like my home ground. But I think that's for purpose, to bring a little bit a bigger view, another view to that great buzzword and topic, content and content marketing. So what I'm doing, what it's about, I call it strategic content marketing. So to say, it's a mixture of content strategy and content marketing, which are two completely different disciplines, which, by the way, not many people know. Many people mix it up. And so the subline is from a marketing instrument to management discipline. Because today you discover, if you go to content or content marketing, that people say, okay, in online marketing, there's email marketing and social media marketing and whatever kind of marketing and also content marketing. But of course, I mean, you're familiar with that. If you look at it in every type of communications, there's content involved. So for me, it never made sense to see content marketing as a different strategy. But to understand that content is a very basic asset which you need to manage everywhere. And maybe to say it in a little bit in the picture, what I want to talk about is, as I understand, Acrolinks is very much about playing your instrument excellently. And what I want to talk about is how to know which music or which song do we need to play. So maybe this is a good example. So just a few words that you know where I'm coming from. Originally, a long time ago, I've been a lawyer. That's why maybe I love structures and I like to think very structured. And then started as a PR agent, was working in corporate communications very much for a long time. Had also my own agency. And then for me, it's always like the biggest waste is to doing the wrong things great. And this happened a lot when I was working in the agency. So I always thought about strategy. You know, strategy is about doing the right things, right? And so I stopped just sending around just printed paper with some press releases, which always said the same, that we are the greatest, et cetera, that brought me. And just since 2013, I've been doing exclusively only strategy, communication strategy, content strategy, but moved much more in this content strategy part. And so actually it's a little bit the other way. Out of this work with the companies, I noticed that content has become so complex, so that I started just very slowly to develop in the first only for myself some tool, because Excel didn't work. I mean, Excel is great, and I was building the greatest Excel files, but it's not possible to operationalize anything with Excel. So that since then, I've been mandated by about 100 companies to develop content strategies, and I want to share with you some of my experiences which I made to put that strategy into work. And I'm also a lecturer at various universities. That's why I'm thinking about methodology. And also a little bit to understand corporate newsrooms. Maybe you've heard about a little bit of that. That's a lot in the center of our work. As you can see, it's very important that you have a standing table. Standing table, is this correct? How do you say? Yeah, to make your stand-ups, because otherwise it would be a sit-down ups or whatever. So in a corporate newsroom, two things are very important. This high table to stand there, and the screens where your software works. And the bigger the screen are, the more important the newsroom is. So if you go to Siemens, for example, it's very, very large. All right. This picture is, for me, represents very, very much the current situation of content and content marketing. But wait, it's not complete yet. So it's a little bit like you would go into a supermarket and just want to buy cereals or whatever, and then you find 10 meters of cereals and you don't know what to choose. So the offer is extremely big. And in particular, if I look to the last 5 years, I don't know, it started already in 1995 when the internet came up and digital transformation, et cetera, but in particular the last 5 years, a lot of things changed and happened and took a lot of speed. For example, that all the channels we are talking in are completely jammed. You know, Facebook, for example, 5 years ago, if you had 1,000 followers, you would think that you could reach 1,000 people. Today, the organic reach is below 1%, you know, it's 0.5% or something, because there's so many content around there, what to choose. We also have this big media change. I'm always saying I'm, you know, the part in between. So I think only German will understand this joke, that I start my Netflix every day at 15 minutes past 8. So after the news. So that people started to consume content differently. They don't accept anymore that anybody else is doing program for them. They select. Ad rejection is a very big thing. They have, you know, they're more and more educated. Their requirements, their needs are much more specific if you want to talk to them. And you know, every time people are going on the conferences, I'm a little bit mitfühlend. Sad, because you know the marketing people today really get also, you know, so many different developments, etc., and you think, okay, how can they go on? And of course we have the less and less attention thing. And you know, if you look just as a market, I try to give a little bit of overview to how to deal with that big changes. A lot of companies put a lot of money on paid media, so that they pay that their content becomes visible somewhere. Influencer marketing is also a big thing, or also corporate influencers, that they try to use their people, you know, to spread the word, or scaling. I mean, this is what we've been talking also yesterday with artificial intelligence, automation, bots, etc., to produce more and more content, where I'm really skeptical of this really works, because there's already so much content around. Or they try to do much more snackable content, because people don't consume bigger content anymore. So many different tactics, emotions, sensations, and of course data. And then I found, which was funny, that I developed a new model, which I call the pissed model. But okay, I understand when some marketers really feel a little bit pissed because of all these different options we have. But 1 year ago, and Gartner brought out a new Magic Quadrant about content marketing platforms. So the first time, and just recently, a couple of weeks ago, they brought the second one, and they had 3 strategic consumptions, which I found very, very interesting. One point is that it said, because of this reason, what I just explained, 75% of the 100 best global consumers will lose 20% of their brand value by 2020. By declining brand awareness, because you know it's so crowded everywhere, and also less loyalty. I mean, 20% is a lot, because the brand value of some companies is really billions and billions. The next thing, we're always talking about content marketing, but they say what, I mean, Frank and myself are saying since quite a time that the term content marketing will be defunct as all marketing content rises to high quality expectations of attention-limited audiences. And I think we can also strike out marketing, so all content needs to do that. So if you don't have good content, there's no reason to write it. You know, nobody's waiting for your content. And the last thing, which I found the best sentence, that's why I put it at the last, by 2020, 90% of all brands will practice at least one form of content personalization or automatization, what they're talking about. But then, however, content, not data, will be the bottleneck and primary cause of failure. I found that very interesting, because they said, of course, it's very nice if we know, if you're with millions of profiles and exactly know what everybody wants to eat, but if we don't have our kitchen ready to be able to cook exactly what the people need, it doesn't help us to know that. So my experience with all the companies I'm consulting the last years is a lot of them buy tools, you know, to automate, etc., but they don't have their kitchen ready. They don't understand which content, exactly which content they need to do. So I think this has to go first. And then maybe you can work with a buffet first, so people know how to take which content. So going to this, if we want to manage that content, we also notice that also in the past years, content really got significantly more complex because we're producing more and more and more content. There's a lot of pressure, that we should produce more content. We have more and more formats, VR and AR and video and what else, that we need to consider. More and more channels. We need now to work with personas and sales funnel. So content and managing content and understanding content and making profiles is extremely difficult. I mean, tools like Acrylics could help a lot because the artificial intelligence in that will do that. And I think you need tools like that to manage it at all. And then also internal structures. I'm sure you know that, and maybe you feel the same like these two guys on the right very often. And this is also, as I said, this doesn't concern only the content marketing department because everybody's working with content, SEO and email marketing and social media and product marketing and everybody's producing content. And more, which is also very interesting, is if you look at a lot of other buzzwords like omni-channel, customer journey, sales funnel, touchpoint management, you name it, this points in the direction that it needs to be a teamwork, that today a lot of all the different departments work by their own. They just look at their content. But how can you do touchpoint management also with topics, not only with tone, if you can't coordinate that? We will look a little bit deeper into this in a moment. And of course, because there's so much awareness on content internally. I mean, a couple of years ago, you would be a corporate publisher, whatever. You produced your content and nobody asked you if there's an economical benefit. But the more awareness comes to this topic, the more the question will raise how much every content will effectively contribute to the business success. And also, quality management comes up very strong. I can really see that not only, in every part, SEO, etc., because they know they can be more efficient or also effective. But also, very often that's also a big problem that in every company is producing so much content, but they're using them once, and then they simply forget that this content exists. Maybe only in the heads of the individuals. And then so they keep on developing the wheel again and again and again because they can't use it. So there are a lot of problems all around that. And just putting your head into the sand doesn't help because this is not going to be better after a while. You lose a lot of effectiveness. You get higher costs because a lot of companies produce exactly the same content twice because they don't know from each other. They don't know that the other company is doing that. A lot of actionism that you don't produce content, you just fill your content calendar because somebody said, okay, you need to post 3 times on Facebook a week and a day and then 2 blog posts per week. And the only thing they want to achieve is really to achieve their KPIs to fill that content. But they don't think about what to tell, what stories to tell. So what are all the people doing? We are continuously producing content, every kind of sales posting, HR posting, product videos, image videos, whatever, manuals, and even cat content sometimes. And then we go and nurture them and care them and grow them, etc. And then the companies see, or at least I'm talking about my experience now, that there is no structure, and then they want to structure it, and then they take their departments and say, okay, this channel, for example, Facebook is done by marketing, and text is done by support, and Instagram, LinkedIn by HR, etc., etc. But this obviously doesn't help. And what I want to talk now, another thing. These are the editorial calendars. This happens today that every of these departments has his own calendar, mostly Excel sheets, but everybody has his own. Nobody is sharing it with the others. And so this ends up, I wouldn't say in chaos, but let's say there's some headroom. So what we are looking for, and this is a very big, I would say, movement also driven by the corporate newsroom topic, that you don't go and organize your content anymore by channels or whatever, but by topics or by stories, as we will see. So you take exactly, so to say, the same topic as you, or the same content which you had, But you take the different channels and content types, etc., order them in topics, connect them to each other, but you really can do your customer journeys and call to actions that's very well connected. And this is what we are looking for. Oh yeah, for example, and then if you manage to put, I just can point at that, but that's a very interesting thing, that you're not talking about topics, that all these topics, again, are connected into one thing, what we call core story. And the core story is not about the what you are selling, you know, a software or shoes or whatever, or banking services. It's about the why. Why are you doing that? So, and if you look at great brands, they have always telling their one and single story. For example, here, just some examples. Dove, you're all familiar with that. They're not talking about skincare. Everything they talk about is the message, you're more beautiful than you think. So every content they produce tells this story, whatever it is. Apple, very famous, and the reason is they don't talk about electronic devices. They are talking about breaking conventions. You know, think different. That's the point, and that resonated with the people, with the designers, with the creative people who also wanted to break creativity, and they are just offering a how and the what to achieve this actual goal. So I will show you an example how this works, how we sometimes put really the process of developing content upside down. So the main question is, how can we bring the people from a channel-based organization to a story-based, a topic-based organization? So this was the new Frank scooter. Okay, you missed it. No problem. So, so how does it look today? So today we have so many different, just take it as an example, you know, social media, SEO, corporate publishing, public relations, customer services, etc. They're all producing content. And so, and of course they are talking always about some topic, but today the selection of topics is quite random. So any product topic, another product topic, a corporate topic, whatever, very much, I mean, you know that they're just coming up because your CEO comes, let's talk about this, or your salespeople, or whatever. And so every of our channels, or what we call silos now, you know, has some relations to all these topics. Some they didn't know that they exist. Other they say, oh, I don't like it, I will not do it, and they will do others. And there's nothing wrong with that. So if there would only be social media, that would be absolutely fine. I mean, you can't do every topic, you can choose. But in reality, you have also other departments like SEO, and they're doing completely different things, not or are doing, and if they are doing it at a different time. So that's, I would say, 99% of all companies I know are in that situation that's disconnected, which we call content production in silos. And so if you look to just one specific corporate topic, which might be interesting, you can see that really it's not coordinated. There can't be any touchpoint management because, you know, corporate publishing started that, but customer services didn't pick up the topic at all. So if the people go there and they don't know about anything, they don't find any content, whatever. So, or this is also very, very, very often that, for example, corporate publishing is producing a great study, great content, you know. Yeah, and nobody knew about it. So what we're trying to do is just put it from the vertical to the horizontal. And so this is to install topic managers or topic owners. So this should mean that we start with a strong content, or let's say topic architecture. We say content, we can say we mean the content pieces, but the topic is, you know, what we are talking about. So the music we are actually playing, or the song. So this is the start. So we have a clear topic architecture, and then we start to manage it not from the channel, but from the topic. So, which means that we sit down together or stand together. I mean, as we see, it was a stand table. And then discuss when we will do, and then we coordinate that. Of course, still SEO can say this topic isn't relevant because we don't have any keyword volume, whatever, so we don't do it. They can go and have a coffee in that time, but all the other do that coordinated. So just an example, maybe you're familiar with Wirecard. Wirecard looked to me like a relatively small company, outside of Munich, a client of us, and then a year ago they kicked out the Commerzbank out of the DAX. So they're a DAX company now, and they're doing payment. So everything you're paying in the shop or online or whatever, you can be sure that Wirecard is managing from this moment that you push the button. So we started also with a core story, and the core story is payment should never bother again. So this is everything the whole company is about. They're producing software for it, we're producing content for that, because to achieve that payment doesn't bother, not internally, not externally. And so their wet dreams a little bit is like Amazon Go. If you heard about that, these shops where you guys just go there, and if you go into the shop via NFC or something, you just log in, then you go to the shelf and you take your milk. And as soon as you take out the milk, it makes blip, blip. The milk is in your basket, and then you just go out, and that's it. And if you're out, then you get another message, okay, we just billed €5.50. Very expensive for milk, in this case, and everything is paid. So this is like payment. You don't feel payment anymore, but it's still there. So then the second step is what we call topic categories. So that we think, okay, from which perspective we need to tell this story. First, from the perspective from the consumer, then to teach our customers, the customers of our customers or the consumers, how can we remove these hurdles? In this example, Amazon Go. Then the other view is the internal view. How can we reduce costs and efforts internally? But also, how can we drive it even further and not only think how can we not bother, but maybe how can we give more opportunities through payment? So, and then we go in each category, just as an example. Let's go now into new opportunities through payments. And then we have the actual topics, which we find out by ideation. We look at the market, what the market is talking about, what we talk about, et cetera, et cetera. Just as an example, like omni-channel payment, interesting thing, contactless payment, or Alipay. I want to go a little bit deeper into Alipay. Alipay has to do with Alibaba, but not with the 40 Räuber. Was heißt Räuber auf Englisch? Bandits, thieves, whatever. Alibaba is, so to say, the Amazon or PayPal, whatever of China, really big. And then what we use is, we call that storyboarding, that we say a topic is always abstract. But if we explain to specific persona what that topic means for them in their specific life, then we have a story. Because we have a protagonist, we have a problem, we can be very concrete. So we never talk about topics in general. We make it as concrete as possible, because if you're not concrete, you're not relevant. People need to see immediately that you mean them, and you are different than you are, and so you have different needs, etc. So this is the kind of the stories, and we do it in two different ways. One is that we have different personas, so have different needs, company size, whatever this could be, or for example, a new kind of sales funnel, where we say we have here different stories. The first story is, why should you care? A lot of people in Europe, for example, they would never understand why they should care about Chinese payment systems. But they do, because there are a lot of tourists and they only have their mobile with them, they don't have credit card, they don't have cash. So you will lose a lot of money with tourists, or at least some of our companies. And only if you understand that there is a problem, then you're ready for the second story, how to implement Alipay in general. Is it possible? How much effort is it? How much money will it cost, etc. And only if you understand that, only then you're ready for the Wirecard solution. Because otherwise you would say, no, I'm not interested, because you don't want to buy a product straight away. So these are completely three different stories, and only if you have purchased the product, then you're interested maybe in support, content, etc., etc. This is, so to say, the sales funnel. And then if we have that story, we ask ourselves, how can we tell this particular story? What content types are good to do that? In this case, of course, we need to study. We just can't state that you will lose money if you don't have Alipay. So we need to study how many money potentially European dealers will lose. And as we are on the top of the funnel, it doesn't make no sense to publish this on your own channels. So you need to go to earned media, like press, for example. That's why you need a press release. You can't get the full study in the press release, so you will have a link. So you need also a landing page. To make this a little bit better, you need an infographics. So this is, so to say, our orchestra. This is the music we are playing. This is our orchestra. And then, of course, each of them, when they write their story, when they write their press release, of course, this needs to be excellent in tonality and everything else when it comes. But then, and now the magic comes, we go back to the other thing. You know, now the people are doing exactly the same like they did before. Social media does LinkedIn posts and Facebook posts, and SEO makes landing pages, and public relations makes press releases. The same thing as before, but now it's coordinated. So the channel and what we are talking about in the actual content production comes at the very end of a long process, of a strategic process. Maybe not long, but a more centralized story. And of course, then tools like acronyms comes in, because then you have the actual content, this study, the press release, etc., etc. And then it will give a big benefit to use these tools to produce this content with more excellence. And yeah, okay, that's quite quickly. I have an analogy to go a little bit further about this holistic understanding of content quality. You know, of course, content quality is, of course, that you have the right words, that it's better, but what means better content? So I have the analogy of a bottle. Normally, I have a bottle and show them, but I can't use this one. A question, a white paper. Is a white paper content? Yeah. I would say no. What is in the white paper is a content, not the white paper. And this is what I wanted to say. What is the content of that? Is it the bottle or the water? The water is the content, of course. It's the content of the bottle of water. But of course, it has to do with something with each other. But we need to understand then. What is very funny, we can take this water and fill them in totally different bottles, cups, whatever. And the good thing about digital content is this bottle will never get empty if you fill it somewhere else. So we have the container, and we have the matter, the substance, whatever. It's difficult to find words for that. And it's also, did you ever think about why we have so many different kind of bottles? 0.2 liters design bottles, Acqua di Panna, 0.2 cans, 0.33 PET, etc., etc. Thousands of different bottles. I would say only for one reason, for distribution. The only reason, because we have 0.2 liters Acqua di Panna, is to open the distribution channel restaurants. Because then you have a fit. So this addresses different needs in the content. So, which is, which is part of the actual Gefäß container. And also very interesting is, talking about quality is a very interesting thing, because if you go a little bit more in depth, you see that quality isn't a quality term. It doesn't have to do with good or bad. It's just about the fit. Does the content what it ought to do? And therefore, for example, if you have a Schraube, a screw, for example, if you go into quality management, ISO 9001, etc. in Germany, and you would say the screw should have a diameter of 5 millimeters. Then you say it can be a tolerance of 0.01 millimeter. Everything which is in the tolerance is a quality screw, which is not in the tolerance is not a quality screw. So it's simply, if you ask, does the content exactly what you said, what it should be? And so you need attributes for that. You know, the diameter of a screw is an attribute. And here, it's a good question. How do we measure quality? Here we have those attributes: natrium, kalium, magnesium, etc., etc. This is the way how we define the quality of the water. Maybe also coal dioxide, gas, whatever. And then we can see that we can have a fit. For example, for a young woman with a baby, we need the matter, the content without natrium, no carbonic acid. We need big bottles because she doesn't want to go so often to buy new water. And we need a lightweight bottle because she needs to carry it. And the distribution channel is the supermarket. And here, here it's exactly the same. It's water. It's water. It's the same matter, isn't it? Here we need a lot of minerals, carbonic acid, a small bottle, a robust bottle, and maybe he buys it in the vending machine. And so if we change the setup of our product, do you get the analogy between content and this product? Then we have a fit, and then we can say it's a quality bottle because the content we produced fits to the needs of the actual consumer. And so what do you think about is, okay, in center is always the benefit, the need, and you can get this presentation afterwards. This is going to be a little bit more complex. We have 3 parts or 3 levers, the matter, the container, and the distribution, what we need to think about if we want to say a content is good and successful. If we only have a good substance, but this doesn't perform because we can't distribute it, it doesn't help. So here in the matter, we have to make sure that we have new data, that we have facts, that we have insight, that it's good substance, that we are imparting knowledge and expertise, that we give orientation for decisions, that we are pointing out maybe new connections or have an authentic commitment. This is called, it doesn't depend on the presentation, whatever, that's the substance, the matter, what we're talking about. Then we have to make sure that or not we have to make sure, but it depends on the creativity of the implementation, the use of multimedia elements, simply the effort for the production, the protagonist, etc. So we can change a lot in the presentation, in the staging of this matter. And then if also we can do a lot of content in the content to change the distribution. For example, if we have just one matter and we put it in so many different bottles, we have a much bigger chance to distribute it widely. Because then we can use different channels, etc., and people maybe different brands. As you know, today in a supermarket you will maybe see 100 brands, but they will come, most of them from Nestle and Coca-Cola. And each of them has 20 different brands, only for that reason. We can do exactly the same in content. The size of the media budget, the quality of the SEO, the UX of the structure of the platform, the effort in influencer outreach, individual targeting. So all this changes the distribution. And of course, it's also a strategic decision how much focus you put on several things. For example, here, if your objectives are high engagement, emotional involvement, then the matter is not important. But you only go a lot for presentations, and maybe if you're in the B2B market, you should put a lot of more effort in the actual matter, and the presentation is not so important. Or if you're just in the brand, you might go and say, okay, matter doesn't care, and presentation neither, but we are looking for omnipresence. So, I want to close again to show you that where I started with Gartner. Content marketing will change. Everything is content. You need to look and manage on everything, every content you have. And some conclusion, for me, it's not only one voice, it's also one story, what you make sure, or one song in this kind. Not everybody needs to sing in one voice, but also sing the same song. So every piece of content should tell one core story. Then another tip is always start with the why. Your central why. Why are you here? What is the core benefit you're giving? What is the actual problem you're solving for your problems? And you need something like a product management. This is topic management, really to manage what topics you're talking about. And it's a team effort, last but not least. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mirko Lange.